I appreciate Professor Clayton giving me an opportunity to come and speak with you. It's always enjoy coming to business classes where they allow folks to come in from both perspectives and talk about what it's like to be management, and then also to hear what it's like to be from the labor perspective. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about who the union members are in our state. Then I'm going to talk about the benefits of unions. And then I'm going to talk about the AFL-CIO and what we do, and talk a little bit about some organizing victories we've had, as well as some challenges to union organizing in North Carolina. And as I said, I'm happy to take questions throughout, and there'll definitely be some time at the end for questions as well. So North Carolina is the least unionized state in the country. Does anybody have any idea why that might be? Well, there's a couple factors. North Carolina's economy historically was a rural agricultural economy, and a lot of the union organizing was in the industrial sector. The factories that we did have were a lot of textile factories, and in those factories you had company mill towns, so you had your boss not only employing you, they owned the house that you rented, you shopped at the company store, they paid the preacher at the church in the mill village. So workers were really dependent on the company, not just for employment, but for a whole way of life. And then they were in this culture where folks were all extolling the benefits of the company, so it made it very difficult for workers to organize and rise up. And then when they did, they were often met with violence. In 1929 in Marion, North Carolina, that was the site of the Marion Massacre. Workers had been out on strike for several months, and 6 strikers were killed, 24 wounded by sheriff's deputies. All the folks on strike were fired and evicted from their company housing. And in 1934, there was a national textile strike throughout the country, including the South, where workers were beaten, intimidated, killed. So it really set up this kind of fear of unions, fear of organizing, fear of company intimidation that's continued to last in some parts of North Carolina till today. And also North Carolina has several anti-labor, anti-union laws that make it difficult for workers to organize, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So in North Carolina, we are home to, even though we're the least unionized state, we're home to about 130,000 union members. That's about 3% of the workforce. Unions nationally represent about 12% of the workforce. Has anybody belonged to a union or know a union member?
Yeah, when I lived up in the Midwest, was a lot of it.
Did you belong, or you knew a lot of union folks? Well, a lot of folks think, you live here in North Carolina, there's hardly any unions here. Union members, us, folks up in New York, and certainly not here. Well, one thing I always like to tell folks is that you interact on a regular basis with union members, and you probably use products that are manufactured by union members right here in North Carolina. So your letter, your mail delivered to your house by a union member, most likely a member of the Letter Carriers Association. If you go to the post office and you buy stamps from the clerk, that person's also a union member.